r/askreddit. What game is a perfect 10/10 in your book? Portal 2. Co-op is a lot of fun also. My only complaint is that there isn't enough. When life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Make life take the lemons back. Get mad. I don't want your damn lemons. What am I supposed to do with these? Demand to see life's manager. I can't believe that I've had to scroll all the way down to find Portal. I feel the original was better purely because it felt so tight. Nothing was extra, nothing felt unneeded. It was just as long as it needed to be and just short enough to leave you wanting a bit more. Morrowind. Dated now, but first time I played it, it was mind-blowing. Lol, I'll never forget completing a long 3-part quest to get my hands on the boots of blinding speed. Once I got them, I couldn't have been more excited to put them on. They made you run much faster, a very useful and cool thing that made the rest of the game much easier, except the boots also made you blind. Boots of blinding speed. It was right there in the name. Someone on the dev team is a DM who you should never try to use Wish anywhere near. Morrowind is so fucking good, and it's weird because I personally only tried it last year, but it's as if the story itself is good enough to drag all the otherwise dated things up. It's like you're just thrown into this weird, alien landscape without knowing what's up and down, and in the meantime there's this weird presence stalking you in your dreams, and the further you delve down the rabbit hole, the scarier Daggerthur and his cronies become. I'd say that Daggerthur is genuinely one of the best antagonists I've ever seen. This is my answer to such an elaborate built world, with lots of nuance and detail. Something that really lacked in its sequels. Edit. Shout out to Skywind who are trying to remake the original Morrowind in the Skyrim engine. Morrowind is the best TES game of all time. There's simply no comparison. I'm playing modded out Skyrim at the moment, and although it is fun in TS own right, it's nowhere near as engaging, complex, or unique as Morrowind was. GTA SAR. I can turn off the minimap and still make it to the end of the game. That's how many times I've played this game. You can rob houses, set them on fire, play pool and arcade games, learn martial arts, get CJ in shape, or get him fat. Not to mention all the gang stuff, which was also cool. Honestly, that game had so much packed into it that it's easily one of my favorites. Bioshock. The first Bioshock sent shivers down my spine for most of the game. I never knew what was going to happen or how I was going to be attacked. It was amazingly done. Bioshock Infinite got me back into gaming after I fell off for a bit. It doesn't get much better than that game. Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are definitely among the most beautiful games ever. Mario games have always had great music, but man did they go all out in Galaxy 1. Those two games are my favorite games of all time. My wife is not a gamer at all, but somehow we started playing Galaxy together, me as Mario and her using the Wiimote to gather stars and freeze enemies and whatnot. We actually completed that game. That and Mario on Game Boy when she was a kid are probably the only games she's ever beaten. Just about the only ones she's played. Chrono Trigger. Edit. 8k upvotes and 2 awards. Oh, thank you so much for each and every one of your beautiful redditors. The entire SNES era of RPGs are fantastic. Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, the Breath of Fire series, 7th Saga, Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore. That's about 300 hours of gaming just off the top of my head, and the worst of the bunch is probably on the 8th of May 2010. Lost my mind when a certain someone dies. The story is perfect and amazing and intricate, and the interactions of time travel on the time periods is masterful. Story 10/10. The music is flawless, timeless, classic and orchestral. Sound effects are on point and all feel realistic and appropriate. Sound 10/10. The game mechanics are intuitive. It really advances the evolution of turn-based strategy with the timed option. The variety of team combinations and team attacks make every playthrough a new experience. The multiple endings lend endless replay value to what is already a masterpiece among the Super Nintendo's RPGs collection. Gameplay 10/10. The visuals really push the boundaries of what a 16-bit system of the time could offer. Hundreds of unique sprites and animations. Parallax effects make you feel the world open before you. The myriad of visual differences between the time periods give you a sense of epic scale and let you know both where and when you are at a glance. For my money, this is the most beautiful game on the SNES. Visuals 10/10. Overall, Chrono Trigger is a perfect game and the benchmark for all RPGs that followed. If you will forgive the pun, Chrono Trigger is a truly timeless masterpiece that people should enjoy for years to come. Overall 10/10. In my opinion, Chrono Trigger is the greatest game ever made. 23 years later, I still fondly remember every character, song, plot twist, and setting. I'm the kind of guy that beats one game out of every 10 I play, but I manage to pull off a completionist run of Chrono Trigger roughly once a year. It never fails to capture my imagination. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. I raised you. I loved you. I've given you weapons, taught you techniques, endowed you with knowledge. There is nothing more for me to give you. All that's left for you to take is my life, by your own hand. One must die, and one must live. No victory, no defeat. The survivor will carry on the fight. It is our destiny. The one who survives will inherit the title of boss. And the one who inherits the title of boss will face an existence of endless battle, the boss. What a thrill. I really miss MGS2 and MGS3. I wish there was a way to play them on PS4 as I loved the HD collection on PS3. Ocarina of Time. It was so groundbreakingly amazing when it came out on N64. Aaron Hansen would like to know your location. Only just logged onto Reddit and saw the question. I second this. 100%. The game of my childhood. Minecraft. Been playing for 7 years and it is limitless. And some of the mods are insane. Ever played Minecraft paintball? Or survival games? Or factions? Or skyblock? Or Parker hack and slash adventure maps? Or an Elytra map? Or a dropper map? That game has endless possibilities. The Last of Us. It's like a playable novel that you just keep turning the pages and can't put down until the end. I got hooked on this game after the super intense opening sequence. I'm super excited for the second one. LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga. I played LSW 1 and 2 originally on PC, then on PlayStation, and rebought it as The Complete Saga. I loved that when making the Complete Saga edition, the folks at Traveler's Tales recognized the areas of the original versions that were just a complete pitter, mainly the pod race and some of the space levels, and reworked them. Even aside from that, the extra content they added justified the repurchase. I do miss Dex Diner as a hub, though. Kota must be on this list. Kota 1 and 2 were the first RPGs I played as a kid and they will remain some of my faves forever. The combat WAA great, the stories were great, the characters were great, and I'm glad fans managed to patch things back into the sequel to help make it even better. Crying shame we'll never get a third one. It really was a true masterpiece of Star Wars gaming. It is still available on the iOS App Store, in case anyone was interested. Very well worth it. RAOE 2. Willodaloo. I'm waiting so eagerly for AoE 4. Halo CE 3. The original Thief. The early Splinter Cell games, 2. Edit. I may have forgotten about Reach. Don't ask me how, it's been a long day haha. Reach was also brilliant. Best multiplayer of any of the Halo games imo. God damn it, Fisher. Thief was an amazing game. Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Actually fell in love with it. I bought the game along with my Switch, but didn't play until a month ago. Still playing as of today, and don't see myself stopping for another month. 11/10. When I got bought I literally did not stop playing it. RimWorld you can harvest organs. My favorite memory of that game is when after a fight I noticed one of my guys was bleeding. They had been shot in the leg and it needed to be amputated. So I put them under anesthesia, amputated and gave them a wooden leg. A couple days later I noticed they were bleeding again. Did something happen in the meantime that I didn't see, like a rabid animal attack? No, I amputated the wrong leg. You can create a drug empire and use the profits to make a cyborg warrior and plasteel plate male just to kill elephant giraffe mutant, harvest its tusk thing, then wield the horn to murder the creature's children. You can breed exploding possum monsters and force them to clog up the kill zones, so when invaders come you can set off a chain of exploding vermin. You can take the crippled survivors and stitch their fallen comrades' eyes and limbs onto them, nurse them back to health, then release them and their people will thank you. You can also mine out a mountain and have it collapse on your colonist without even leaving a corpse to bury. RIP Eugene. Mass Effect 2. There probably are faults, but I can't think of any. Its only flaw is that it was succeeded by Mass Effect 3. Which, to be fair, would also be close to a 10/10 if it wasn't for the ending. Scanning endlessly for Iridium put me to sleep. The rest is 11/10 though. Warcraft 3. Solid campaign, awesome multiplayer, still being played all these years later. But most importantly, had a map editor that allowed modders to create games that would result in Dota 2, League of Legends, auto battlers, tower defenses, Plants vs Zombies and so much more. No other game in history has had such a long-lasting impact on online multiplayer. I'm sad that this is so far down. Warcraft 3 was such a fantastic game for its time, and as you mentioned it's one of the most important games in modern gaming history due to that incredible map editor. Stoked for a forged edit. Haha, I'm glad this got pushed up so high. When I commented it was a couple hours old and only had one upvote. Battle.net on Warcraft 3 back in the day was the shit. The variety of the maps available was insane. My favorites were Footman Wars and Siege of Helm's Deep. Soul Reaver, it had an amazing story, cool puzzle mechanics, tons of secret areas and powers, cool boss mechanics and an amazing villain. Baldur's Gate, the game that got me into RPGs. Brilliant story, cool characters and interesting world and lore. More recent one, Bloodborne, got me into the Soulspawn games. Great story and a captivating lore, amazing world and brilliant boss fights that punish mistakes and reward learning and improvement. You must gather your party before venturing forth. Witcher 3. You mean that side game that comes with Gwent? Can't believe this comment is so low. Yep, surprised there's not more mentions of W3. I didn't have the issues with controls that others seem to have had either, or maybe they were just overshadowed by how perfect everything else was. The DLCs were also 10/10 in my opinion. Gwent alone makes it an 11/10. Hollow Knight. Edit, Silksong hype. Everything about Hollow Knight is just so good. The beautiful atmosphere, graphics, music, amazing storytelling and flawless gameplay. There are very few games I loved as much as this one. Minecraft. Yes. I love Minecraft, but I think it's partly only so revered because it is basically the only game in its genre, aside from a bunch of direct knockoffs. I feel like there is a ton of stuff Minecraft does wrong that everybody just puts up with. Sort of like Bethesda RPGs. Stardew Valley. I picked it up to see what all my friends were talking about, started playing, apparently blacked out, and woke up with 80 hours logged. Incredible. I loved it. It got me going outside to water my plants every day IRL, and I'd get mildly distressed if I didn't have enough time. They won't grow if I don't water them every day. One of those games where I wish I could erase my memory and start again. I've hovered over by like 10 times when this was on Steam sales. I need to buy it. Dishonored. I have zero complaints, aside from that it could use more stages. But even so, I'm not sure if those stages would be as good as the ones available. I also really like Ocarina of Time. And Borderlands 2. 3 games I can play over and over. Dishonored is one of the if not best stealth games of all time. Like they made the perfect stealth game and Dishonored 2 just took it and made it even better with Corvo's daughter not only being playable but having a completely different playstyle. I was gonna say Dishonored. It's absolutely amazing. I still think Terraria is a masterpiece. Yep. It plays like modded Minecraft in vanilla. My unmodded playthrough with a friend is at 80 herd and counting, and we're still a decent way from beating the game. I have 500 hours unmodded. I'm still not bored with it. Super Metroid. The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace. Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver. Fuck that mill tank though. I had to scroll this far down to find it. The Pokémon games are all fantastic in their own way. Everyone has their favorites, but Crystal was hands down my favorite. Then they remade Generation 2 and I don't think anything will be able to top those remakes. They're perfect in so many ways. Half-Life 2. Finally, was worried it isn't here. This game changed my life forever. StarCraft. Must have spent well over 1000 hours on that game. You must construct additional pylons. Dungeons and Dragons. It is, but if your DM is bad it can be shit. Donkey Kong Country, and Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. It's actually Diddy's Kong Quest, and I only say this because it took me years to realize and understand the pun. Someone who appreciates classical Dong. Donkey Kong Country 2 has one of the best soundtracks in gaming and it makes me sad people don't talk a bit more when talking of the best gaming soundtracks. Dark Souls. Freaking loved it. First one specifically or the series? Dark Souls 1 level design is still awe-inspiring. Dark Souls is probably my favorite game, but the rushed late game really prevents it from being the perfect 10 for me. Deus Ex. It is the one game which I religiously do a full story run of every other year. It's a masterpiece of design. I'll never forget my first stealth takedown with the Jepton. Sockham 2 US Navy SEALs. I know, I'm like the old guy in a nightclub RN. Factorio. The factory must grow. This game is the best argument for supporting early access games. I was happy with the content Factorio had in 2016 when I bought it, and the developers have relentlessly continued improving it and adding amazing new features with a dedication to bug fixing and community interaction that you'd never see in most AAA devs. We don't deserve woob. Factorio, the what do you mean I've been playing for 10 hours straight simulator. Divinity, Original Sin 2E is the closest to a 10 I've ever played. Some minor flaws in inventory management make it a near miss, but damn I love that game. The inability to dye backpacks or label them is the only downside to me. Oh, and Fort Joy. After playing it for the 40th time it gets stale. Edit. I know mods exist. I use a bunch of them. I wouldn't credit the game for mods though. The game needs credit for its GM and built-in mod support though. Halo, specifically Halo 3, had a tradition where when old friends meet up, we set up a match for old time's sake between 6 people. The time spent on it made us see Spartan customizations not as cosmetics but as the people behind those customizations. Whenever I see a Hayabusa, Eva, or Scout helmet I don't see random player customizations, I see my friends that I've always played with. In turn they also see the oddest helmet as me. Halo 3 was amazing. I recently rewatched a playthrough of it on YouTube with no commentary. It was the first time I had seen it since I was much younger. I specifically remember the Covenant level being particularly epic. My heart skipped a beat when the 2 scarabs dropped outside the citadel because it brought back so many memories of playing as a kid with my dad. I'll forever miss those days of experiencing the original Halo games for the first time. Nothing will ever beat Halo 3 Forge mode. Halo 3 was honestly ahead of its time with Forge and Theater mode. Persona 5 and Nier Automata for sure. Finally found another P5 fan here. Subnautica. Dragon Age Origins. The perfect fantasy game with amazing world building and great companions. Enchantment. Halo 2 Shadow of the Colossus Hollow Knight Sekiro Super Mario World Zelda. Oot and ALTTP Borderlands 2 Path of Exile Batman. Arkham Asylum Bloodborne Diablo 2 Gears of War 1 and 2 Resident Evil 4 Pornhub. One is not like the others. Tetris. I have literally lost entire days to Tengen Tetris. Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. Yes. Groval did nothing wrong. New Vegas. They took my favorite game and improved it in almost every way. Better story, better dialogue, better combat mechanics, and so on. If we ever get a game as good as New Vegas with a new graphics engine, I'm never going outside again. Outer Worlds looks promising, but I try to keep my hopes low in an attempt to avoid disappointment. For all its faults, Skyrim. Well, it's surely not 10/10 if it has faults. 8 years later I still play Skyrim, despite all its faults. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Happy Cake Day. The last Uncharted game. I prefer Uncharted 2 TBH, but I agree Uncharted 4 is awesome. Silent Hill 2. Brilliant game, and it's a travesty that it's so hard to play it these days. The original PS2 version has basically been nuked from existence unless you pirate it or find a used copy, which can be pretty expensive depending on where you live, and the PS3 remake is worse in every way and also delisted on PSN, and I assume Xbox Live too. So, again, you either need to pirate it or look for a used copy. It's absolute bullshit, and I hate how Konami seem to despise Silent Hill in particular more than they do their other franchises. Mountain Blade, Warband. Even if there are certain aspects you don't like or need polish, you can almost always find a mod to help. What makes it great is how the game never changes, but you must change the way you play it. Starting out, you're a greenhorn that just has to stay alive as you improve your skills and obtain better equipment by helping villagers and doing other tasks. You spend more time running away than fighting. After you get some experience, you gather some warriors and go after small bands of thieves and outlaws. After you get better, join other warbands fighting armies and taking castles. All the while, you have to make friends with other lords. When it becomes your turn to be a landholder, you have to develop and defend your property. When the martial title is bestowed upon you, you have to decide which castles and towns to attack, all the while keeping other lords in line. When you go it on your own, you have to defend yourself from other rulers and figure out how to keep your own lords happy so they help you and not abandon you. Damn. Now I want to start a new game. The Last of Us. Portal 2. Team Fortress 2. Edit, the new God of War. Horizon Zero Dawn. Ocarina of Time. EU4 with all the expansions is quite addictive. San Andreas. The Witcher 3. The Witcher earns 11/10 in some areas, but the movement and combat can definitely hit 5/10. Castlevania Sodden. Jak and Daxter. Borderlands 2. Old School RuneScape. GoldenEye. N64. Team Fortress 2. Such a shame that Valve has basically given up on updating it. Super Mario Bros. 3. Super Mario 64. Spider-Man PS4. Dead Space 2. Little late but Bastion. The kid commented too late on this thread to get any upvotes, but didn't mind. At least the truth was out there now. Someone would see it. Zero Escape. 999. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. Nier Automata. Shadow of the Colossus. Journey. Final Fantasy VI. Perfection personified.